इन द नेम ऑफ अल्लाह, आज जो हमारा टॉपिक है वो है कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग। इसलिए पहले हमने पीडीएफ पढ़ा है से लतीफ़ अकाडमी से। आज हम जो नोटबुक बनाई है उससे हम कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग पढ़ेंगे। ब्रांच ऑफ अकाउंटिंग: फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग, cost accounting and management accounting. This means there are main three branches of accounting, that's financial accounting, cost accounting, management accounting. पहले बात करते हैं फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग। फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग इज डन टू नो द फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन फॉर अ डेफिनेट पीरियड, ठीक है ना। व्हाइल एज कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग इज डन टू नो द कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्ट, ठीक है ना। फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग हैज अ सेट फॉर्मेट व्हाइल एज कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग डू नॉट हैव अ सेट फॉर्मेट। Financial accounting is done for a definite period, while as cost accounting is not done for a definite period. The financial accounting involves both external as well as internal users, while as cost accounting involves only internal users. Financial accounting shows profit or loss in business, while as cost accounting shows the cost of product. And the financial accounting, journal, ledger, trial balance, finance statements are part of financial accounting, while as ये जो cost accounting है it is done by large firms. Management accounting: the accounting done to take managerial decisions regarding information from financial accounting and cost accounting is called managerial या management accounting. उसके बाद है ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग। फर्स्ट ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग इज टू असर्टेन द टोटल कॉस्ट और कॉस्ट पर यूनिट ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट, ठीक है ना। दूसरा ऑब्जेक्टिव है टू असर्टेन द सेलिंग प्राइस ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट, टू असर्टेन द प्रॉफिट, टू कंट्रोल द कॉस्ट, टू दिस मीन्स आपने याद रखना ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग: टू असर्टेन द टोटल कॉस्ट और कॉस्ट पर यूनिट ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट, टू असर्टेन सेलिंग प्राइस, to ascertain profit, to control the cost, decision making and budget making. Costing and cost accounting, ये आपने याद रखना होगा। What's cost? The expenditure incurred to produce a product is called cost, ठीक है ना। तो आपने याद रखना the expenditure incurred to produce a product is called cost. Costing: the process by which cost of a product is ascertained. So this means the process by which cost of a product is ascertained is called costing. Cost accounting: the classifying recording of cost accounting records. So this means classifying recording of cost accounting records is called cost accounting. So this means the classification recording of cost accounting records. So तो आपने याद रखूंगा कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग क्या होती है। द क्लासिफिकेशन एंड रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ अकाउंटिंग रिकॉर्ड्स इज कॉल्ड कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग। कॉस्ट कंट्रोल, ठीक है ना। कॉस्ट कंट्रोल किसको कहते हैं हम? कॉस्ट शुड नॉट गो बियॉन्ड बजट। दिस मीन्स कॉस्ट कंट्रोल मीन एम्प्लॉयज कॉस्ट शुड नॉट गो बियॉन्ड बजट। मेजर्स टेकन टू गेट बैक टू द सेट स्टैंडर्ड। कॉस्ट रिडक्शन मीन्स मेजर्स टू रिड्यूस द कॉस्ट आफ्टर कॉस्ट कंट्रोल। No compromise with quality of a product. In cost reduction, there is no compromise. There should be no compromise with the quality of a product. For example, manual workers replaced by machinery. ठीक है ना? Manual workers replaced by the machinery. Cost audit: a person appointed for verification of cost accounts maintained that proper rules, ठीक है ना। तो आपने याद रखना होगा कॉस्ट ऑडिट क्या होता है। A person is being appointed for the verification of cost accounts maintained that proper rules and principles are followed, ठीक है ना। तो आपने याद रखना होगा कॉस्ट ऑडिट क्या होता है। A person is being appointed for verification of cost accounts that are maintained under proper rules and principles are followed while the process of accounting. The auditing of cost is done by इसको cost auditor. Elements of cost. The main elements of cost are material, labor and other expenses, ठीक है ना। So this means how many elements of cost are there? इसमें 3 elements of cost. Name the 3 elements of cost. इसका सही जवाब है material, labor and other expenses. Material. Material is of two types. Labor is of two types. Other expenses are of two types. Material can be direct material or indirect material. Direct material किसको कहते हैं? The raw material directly consumed for the production of a product is called a direct material. For example, cloth and T-shirt. ठीक है ना? तो आपने याद रखूंगा डायरेक्ट मटेरियल जो होते हैं, it is the raw material which is directly consumed for the production of a product. For example, cloth and T-shirt. The direct materials can be easily identified. ठीक है ना? Indirect material. The material consumed indirectly and cannot be identified easily is called indirect material. The material consumed indirectly and cannot be identified easily is called indirect material. For example, thread and cloth. Labor. ठीक है ना? Labor क्या होता है? Cost incurred on human. Cost incurred on human. उसको हम क्या कहते हैं? Labor. Cost incurred on human. Labor can be direct labor and indirect labor. Direct labor क्या होता है? Efforts that directly and actively participate in the production of goods. So this means direct labor क्या होता है? The efforts that directly and actively participate in the production of goods is called direct labor. For example, tailor. Indirect labor. Indirect labor क्या होता है? Is involved. Indirect labor, the labor involved indirectly and do not contribute directly. So this means the labor which is involved indirectly and do not contribute directly in the production of goods or product is called indirect labor. For example, supervisor or watchman in factory. ये होते हैं indirect labor. Other expenses. Expenses other than material and labor is called other expenses. This means expenses other than material and labor is called other expenses. We do have direct expenses and indirect expenses. The direct expenses are directly related and attribute. तो आपने याद रखूंगा the expenses that are directly related and attributable to a particular job is called direct expenses. Direct expenses are easily identifiable. For example, royalty for publication. For example, royalty for publication of any specific book that is easily identified. Indirect expenses are not easily identified to a particular job. For example, electricity consumed, used for different books, that is book A, B, C, D. ठीक है ना? So this means indirect expenses. Overheads. The aggregate of, बहुत important question है, the aggregate of all the indirect expense is called overheads. बहुत important. The aggregation of all indirect expense is called overheads. The aggregation of all the indirect expenses. The aggregation of all the indirect expenses is called overheads. बहुत important question. The aggregation of all the indirect expense is called overheads. तो आपने याद रखना होगा there are mainly three types of overheads. ठीक है ना? There are mainly three types of overheads. That is manufacturing overhead, administration overhead, selling and distribution overhead. So this means name the three types of overheads. इसका सब manufacturing overhead, administrative overhead, selling and distribution overhead. Manufacturing overhead किसको कहते हैं? Those overheads which incurred in the factory premises for the production of goods is called manufacturing overhead. So this means those overheads which incurred in the factory. So this means those overheads which incurred in the factory premises. तो आपने याद रखूंगा those overheads which incurred in the inside the factory premises. So आपने याद रखूंगा those overheads which incurred inside the factory premises for the production of goods is called manufacturing overhead. Thus, manufacturing goods is also called as factory overheads because these overheads incurred in the factory premises. The manufacturing overhead is also called working overhead or production overhead. तो आपने याद रखूंगा the manufacturing overhead is also called as factory overhead, work overhead or production overhead. For example, सवाल बनता है give the examples of manufacturing overhead. इसका जो factory rent and factory rent, ठीक है ना? Depreciation of factory equipment. Administrative overhead. The overheads which incurred outside the factory premises for the management of business is called administrative overhead. बहुत important question है. The overheads which incurred outside the factory premises for the management of business is called administrative overhead. The administrative overheads are also called as office overheads. For example, सवाल बनता है give the examples of salary overheads. Give the examples of administrative overheads. इसका जो salary of employees, rent paid for building, etc. Selling and distribution overhead. The overheads which incurred in connection with the sales and distribution of goods is called selling and distribution overhead. बहुत important question है. The overhead which incurred in connection with the sales and distribution of goods is called selling and distribution overhead. Give the examples of selling and distribution overhead. इसका सूची है packaging, advertising, loading and unloading of goods, etc. क्वेश्चन है मेथड्स ऑफ कॉस्टिंग के बारे में. मेथड्स ऑफ कॉस्टिंग के बारे में पहले हम बात करेंगे कॉस्टिंग क्या होती है. द प्रोसेस बाय विच कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्ट इज एसर्टेन्ड इज कॉल्ड कॉस्टिंग. ठीक है ना. द प्रोसेस बाय विच कॉस्ट ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट इज एसर्टेन्ड इज कॉल्ड कॉस्टिंग. ठीक है ना. देयर आर सो मेनी मेथड्स ऑफ कॉस्टिंग. सवाल बनता है व्हाट आर डिफरेंट मेथड्स ऑफ कॉस्टिंग. इसका सही जवाब है तो आपने याद रखूंगा different industries follow different methods of तो आपने याद रखूंगा methods of costing. Different industries follow different methods because of the nature of their difference in nature of work. ठीक है ना. like क्वेश्चन बन सकता है what are different methods of costing. इसका सब job costing, contract costing. What are the various methods of costing. इसका सूची में job costing, contrast costing, batch costing, unit costing, process costing, operating costing, operation cost, multiple costing, order multiple costing. ठीक है ना. तो give different methods of या name different methods of costing which are used. इसका सही जवाब है job costing, contract costing, batch costing, unit costing, process costing, operating costing, operation costing. ठीक है ना. and multiple costing. पहले बात करते हैं job costing के बारे में. जॉब कॉस्टिंग क्या होती है. जॉब कॉस्टिंग इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज ऑर्डर कॉस्टिंग. ठीक है ना. जॉब कॉस्ट किसको कि हम बोल सकते हैं ऑर्डर कॉस्टिंग. ठीक है ना. द जॉब कॉस्टिंग मेथड इज यूज्ड इन दोज केसेस वायर वर्क इज अंडरटेकन ऑन रिसीविंग ए कस्टमर्स ऑर्डर. सो दिस मीन्स जॉब कॉस्टिंग मेथड कैन ऑल्सो बी कॉल्ड एज ऑर्डर कॉस्टिंग मेथड बिकॉज द जॉब कॉस्टिंग मेथड इज यूज्ड इन दोज केसेस वायर वर्क इज अंडरटेकन ऑन रिसीविंग ए कस्टमर्स ऑर्डर इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज ऑर्डर कॉस्टिंग. ठीक है ना. लाइक प्रिंटिंग प्रेस, मोटर वर्कशॉप, इंटीरियर डेकोरेशन. तो आपने याद रखूंगा इन जॉब कॉस्टिंग प्रोडक्ट इज मेड ऑन द ऑर्डर ऑफ कस्टमर्स विल. सो दिस मीन्स इन जॉब कॉस्टिंग द प्रोडक्ट इज मेड ऑन द ऑर्डर ऑफ कस्टमर्स विल. it is not highly repetitive. So this means the job costing is not highly repetitive. The job costing is not highly repetitive. In job costing cost of each job is determined separately. तो आपने in job costing method cost of each job is determined separately. For example wedding cards made etc. उसके बाद contract costing. The costing used for firms which are engaged in construction. So this means contract costing method. The contract costing method is used for firms which are engaged in construction work like construction of building, roads etc. Contract costing is big job. ठीक है ना. Contract costing is big job while a job costing is small. ठीक है ना. Small. ठीक है ना. The contract costing can continue for more than a year. The contract costing can continue for more than a year. The contract costing is also called as terminal costing. बहुत important question है. The contract costing is also called as terminal costing like contract ends terminates. उसके बाद है batch costing. The extension of job costing is ठीक है ना. So batch costing क्या है? Batch costing is extension of job costing. Batch costing is extension of job costing. In job costing, articles are manufactured in predetermined lots known as batch. ठीक है ना. In job costing, articles are manufactured in predetermined lots known as batch. For example, batch costing is used in pharmaceutical industries, biscuits, एक्स्ट्रा। द प्रोसेस ऑफ, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है, द प्रोसेस ऑफ एसेटिनिंग, बैच कॉस्टिंग क्या है? इट इज द एक्सटेंशन ऑफ जॉब कॉस्टिंग। तो बैच कॉस्टिंग इज एक्सटेंशन ऑफ जॉब कॉस्टिंग। इन जॉब कॉस्टिंग आर्टिकल्स आर मैन्युफैक्चर्ड इन प्रीडिटरमाइंड लॉट्स नोन एज बैच। फॉर एग्जांपल, तो आपने याद रखूंगा, the batch costing is extension of job costing. In batch costing, in job costing articles are, so this means batch costing is extension of job costing, in which articles are manufactured in predetermined lots known as batch. So this means in job costing articles are manufactured in predetermined lots known as batch. The batch costing method, बहुत important, the batch costing method is used in, batch costing method is used in, इसका जो pharmaceutical industries, biscuits manufacturing etc. The process of ascertaining cost of each batch is known as batch costing, ठीक है ना? So this means the process of ascertaining cost of each batch is known as batch costing. बहुत important question, batch costing क्या है? It is the extension of job costing. In job costing articles are manufactured in predetermined lots known as batch. The batch costing is used in pharmaceutical industries, biscuits, etc. The process of ascertaining costs of each batch is known as batch costing. In batch costing, all products are identical. ठीक है ना? So this means in batch costing, all products are identical. Batch cost of each batch is determined separately. तो आपने याद रखूंगा, in batch costing all products are identical. Cost of each batch is determined separately in batch costing. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है, तो आपने याद रखूंगा, कॉस्ट ऑफ ईच बैच इज डिटरमाइंड सेपरेटली इन बैच कॉस्टिंग मेथड. पर यूनिट इज इक्वल टू टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ बैच डिवाइड बाय नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स प्रोड्यूस्ड इन वन बैच. उसके बाद यूनिट कॉस्टिंग. यूनिट कॉस्टिंग इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज सिंगल और आउटपुट कॉस्टिंग. तो आपने कहना द यूनिट कॉस्टिंग इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज सिंगल और आउटपुट कॉस्टिंग. द यूनिट कॉस्टिंग मेथड इज suitable फॉर firms where all goods manufactured are identical. ठीक है ना? सो दिस मीन यूनिट कॉस्टिंग इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज सिंगल or output costing. The unit costing method is suitable for firms where all goods manufactured are identical, such as mining, brick, cement. ठीक है ना? In unit costing, each unit of output has identical cost. ठीक है ना? So in unit costing, each unit of output has identical cost. Cost per unit is determined by dividing total expenditure with the total number of total units of output produced. So this means in unit costing method, cost per unit is determined by dividing total expenditure with the total units of output produced. This means unit costing method is equal to total expenditure divided by total number of outputs produced. उसके बाद है process costing. Process costing क्या होती है? If a product passes through different stages, it is desired to know the cost of production in each stage. So this means process costing क्या है? If a product passes through different stages, it is desired to know the cost of production in each stage. Thus is also called as stage costing. For example, sugar. For example, sugar. ठीक है ना? That is harvesting, wash, etc. This means the sugar production goes under various stages. This means process costing. और इसके लिए आप प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग के लिए आप याद रख सकते हैं, व्हेन ए प्रोडक्ट हैज टू पास थ्रू डिफरेंट स्टेजेस, इट्स कॉस्ट ऑफ ईच स्टेज इज एसर्टेन्ड. ठीक है ना? तो दिस मीन्स इन प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग मेथड ए प्रोडक्ट हैज टू पास, सो दिस मीन्स सवाल बनता है the process costing method is used. The process costing method is used when a product has to pass through different stages and its cost of each stage is ascertained. The process, ठीक है ना? तो आपने याद रखूंगा, finished product of one process. ठीक है ना? In process costing method, finished product of one process becomes raw material for subsequent process. तो आपने याद रखूंगा, in process costing method, finished product of one process becomes raw material for subsequent process. उसके बाद है operating costing. The operating costing occurs only in intangible services, not in manufacturing. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्टिंग. द ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्टिंग सवाल इस तरह से भी बनता है, विच, तो आपने याद रखना फैक्ट पहले, ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्ट क्या होता है? ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्ट, द ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्टिंग मेथड occurs only in intangible services. तो आपने याद रखूंगा, द ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्टिंग मेथड occurs only in case of intangible services, not in manufacturing. For example, transport, cinema, power supply, etc. तो आपने याद रखूंगा, the operating costing occurs only in case of intangible service. सवाल इस तरह से पूछता है which type of costing method is used in intangible services. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, which type of costing method is used in intangible services. इसका सही जवाब है तो आपने which type of costing method is used in case of intangible service not in manufacturing. इसको operating cost. The operating costing method is used to ascertain the cost of services rendered. तो आपने याद रखूंगा the operating costing is used to ascertain the cost of services rendered. Thus operating costing method can also be called as service costing method because the operating costing method deals with the assessment of costs of services. Operation costing, उसके बाद है operation costing. Operation costing method is almost similar to process costing. तो आपने याद रखूंगा सवाल पूछता है which type of costing is almost similar to process costing. इसका इसमें operation costing. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है which type of costing method is almost similar to process costing. इसको operation costing. तो आपने याद रखूंगा the operation costing method is almost similar to process costing method, but major difference between process costing method and operation costing method is that the process costing is used in industries where the products are all basically same. On the other hand, the operation costing method is used in industries where the final product are similar. Products are similar but may have some variation. तो आपने याद रखना इसके लिए ऑपरेशन कॉस्टिंग इज ऑलमोस्ट सिमिलर टू प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग, बट द मेजर डिफरेंस बिटवीन द प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग एंड ऑपरेशन कॉस्टिंग इज दैट द प्रोसेस costing is used in industries where the products are all basically same. On the other hand, operation costing method is used in industries where the final products are similar but may have some variation in terms of parts or quality, such as laptop, computers, etc. और इस तरह से बनता है which type of costing method is used to ascertain the cost of computers, laptop, etc. इसको operation costing method. Operation costing is refinement or improvement of process costing. तो आपने याद रखना operation costing is refinement or improvement of process costing. तो आपने याद रखना the operation costing is refinement or improvement of process costing, also known as hybrid costing. सवाल इस तरह से बनता है which costing is also called as. सवाल इस तरह से बनता है the operation costing is also called as hybrid costing. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. The operation costing method is also called as, इसका सही जवाब है hybrid costing method because operation costing possesses characteristics of both job and process costing. ठीक है ना. So this means the operation costing method is also called as hybrid costing method because operation costing possesses characteristics of both job and process costing. उसके बाद है multiple costing method. The multiple costing method is used in industries where several parts are separately produced and then assembled into a single final product. तो आपने याद रखूंगा the multiple costing method is used in industries where several parts are separately produced and then assembled into a single final product. For example, car manufacturing. ठीक है ना. The multiple costing method is also known as composite costing because it involves every type of costing. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. The multiple costing is also called as composite costing because multiple costing involves every type of costing, that is different methods of costing. This method is least used nowadays, multiple costing. उसके बाद है techniques of costing. The techniques of costing are used by management for controlling costs and making some important managerial decisions. So आपने याद रखा the techniques of costing are used by management for controlling costs and making some important managerial decisions. So इस तरह से the techniques of costing used by management for controlling costs and making some important managerial decisions is called techniques of costing. These techniques of costing are carried out along with any of the method. Different techniques of costs are both सवाल से बनता है what are different name different techniques of costing. बहुत important name different techniques of costing name different costing techniques. इसका सुझाव है marginal costing technique, standard costing technique, direct costing technique, uniform costing technique, absorption costing technique. सवाल इस तरह बनता है what are name different techniques of costing. इसका सही जवाब है marginal costing, sorry, what are different, या name different types of solvents है, name different techniques of costing, name या what are different techniques of costing, इसका सही जवाब है marginal costing. सॉल्वेंट्स का है व्हाट आर डिफरेंट टेक्निक्स ऑफ कॉस्टिंग, या व्हाट आर डिफरेंट कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक्स, इसका सुबह मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, डायरेक्ट कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, यूनिफॉर्म कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, एब्जॉर्प्शन कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक. पहले बात करते हैं मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक के बारे में. मार्जिनल टेक्निक, मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, मार्जिनल कॉस्ट, मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग एंड डिफरेंट टेक्निक्स यूज्ड इन मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग. ठीक है ना. cost volume profit analysis, profit volume ratio, break even analysis and margin of safety. तो मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक में क्या क्या यूज होता है, मार्जिनल कॉस्ट, मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग एंड डिफरेंट टेक्निक्स. तो आपने याद रखूंगा मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक में क्या क्या यूज होता है, मार्जिनल कॉस्ट, मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग, कॉस्ट वॉल्यूम प्रॉफिट एनालिसिस. ठीक है ना. कॉस्ट वॉल्यूम प्रॉफिट एनालिसिस एंड प्रॉफिट वॉल्यूम रेशियो एंड ब्रेक इवन एनालिसिस एंड ब्रेक इवन एनालिसिस. ये किस में ये यूज होते हैं, एंड मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी. तो आपने याद रखना इसमें टेक्निक्स ऑफ कॉस्टिंग में क्या है, पहला मार्जिनल टेक्निक ऑफ कॉस्टिंग. मार्जिनल टेक्निक ऑफ कॉस्टिंग में हम मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग देखते हैं, कॉस्ट वॉल्यूम प्रॉफिट एनालिसिस, प्रॉफिट वॉल्यूम रेशियो, ब्रेक इवन एनालिसिस एंड मार्जिनल सेफ्टी, मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी. तो पहले बात करते हैं मार्जिनल कॉस्ट के बारे में. The change in amount, that is increase decrease in total cost of a product by producing one more unit of a product. What is marginal cost? इसका सही जवाब है the change in amount, that is increase decrease in total cost of a product. So this means the change in amount, that is increase decrease in the total cost of a product by producing one more unit of a product is called marginal cost, or the cost of producing one more unit is called marginal cost. बहुत ही important question है. The cost of producing one more unit is called marginal cost or variable cost. Marginal cost is equal to, इसका sales minus contribution. बहुत ही important question है. The marginal cost is equal to sales minus contribution. The marginal cost is equal to sales minus contribution. Marginal costing क्या होती है? The marginal costing technique is a costing system where products or services are valued at variable costs only. बहुत important सवाल इस तरह पूछते हैं. The costing technique where products or services are valued at variable costs is called marginal costing. That is only the variable costs for additional units produced are considered. So this means in marginal costing only the variable costs for additional units produced are considered, also known as variable costing, because variable costs because only the variable costs of the additional units produced are considered. In marginal costing fixed costs are not considered. बहुत ही important question है. In marginal costing fixed costs are not considered as they remain constant with change in quantity. बहुत ही important question है. In marginal costing technique fixed costs are not considered as they remain constant with change in quantity. In marginal costing technique prices are determined on the basis of marginal cost. So this means in marginal costing technique prices are determined on the basis of marginal cost. उसके बाद है cost volume profit analysis. बहुत ही important question है. cost volume profit analysis. It is management tool. So this means cost volume profit analysis क्या है? It is a management tool which is used to study relationship between cost volume and profit. बहुत ही important question है. Cost volume profit analysis क्या है? It is a management tool. So this means cost volume profit analysis is a management tool which is used to study relationship between cost volume and profit. The cost volume profit analysis shows the effect of fluctuation in cost and volume on profit. बहुत ही important question है. The cost volume profit analysis shows the effects of fluctuation in cost and volume on profit. For example, in case of fixed overheads, higher the volume of output, lower will be the per unit cost of production. तो आपने याद रखना, in case of fixed overheads, higher the volume of output, lower will be the per unit cost of production. As the fixed overhead cost does not change with the change in the volume of output. तो आपने याद रखूंगा the fixed overhead cost does not change with the change in volume of output. It is relevant to all decision making areas such as determine the profit and loss, selling price. BEP stands for इसका ब्रेक एवन पॉइंट. BEP stands for इसका ब्रेक एवन पॉइंट. ठीक है ना. तो आपने व्हाट इज BEP, इसका ब्रेक एवन पॉइंट. BEP stands for इसका ब्रेक एवन पॉइंट. What does BEP stands for? ब्रेक एवन पॉइंट. BEP stands for ब्रेक एवन पॉइंट. उसके बाद दूसरा जो पढ़ते हैं हम प्रॉफिट इसमें मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक में, वो है प्रॉफिट वॉल्यूम रेशियो. Profit volume ratio. The profit volume ratio indicates profitability of the business. ठीक है ना. So this means the profit volume ratio indicates profitability of business. It express, so this means profit volume ratio. ठीक है ना. Profit volume ratio expresses the relationship between the profit volume ratio expresses the relationship between contribution, that is profit, and sales, that is output, which measures the rate of change in profit due to the change in volume of sales. ठीक है ना. So this means profit volume ratio expresses the relationship between profit and sales, which measures the rate of change in profit due to change in volume of sales. Contribution divided by sales into 100. Contribution is equal to profit by sales into 100. ब्रेक एवन एनालिसिस, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. ब्रेक एवन एनालिसिस. तो आपने याद रखना ब्रेक एवन एनालिसिस एक अलग टेक्निक है. किसके लिए? टेक्निक ऑफ कॉस्टिंग में. ब्रेक एवन एनालिसिस. ठीक है ना. ब्रेक एवन एनालिसिस. Break-even analysis. Break-even is a situation where an organization is neither making money nor losing money, but all the costs have been covered. तो आपने याद रखूंगा what is break-even? What is break-even point? ठीक है ना. So this means break-even is a situation where an organization is neither making money nor losing money, but all the costs have been covered. तो आपने याद रखूंगा break-even is a situation where an organization is neither gaining money nor losing money. So this means the situation where an organization is neither gaining money nor losing money, but all the costs have been covered is called break even. ठीक है ना. So this means is called break even. So this means break even is a situation. Break even is a situation where an organization is neither making money nor losing money, but all the costs have been covered. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. ब्रेक एवन क्या है? ब्रेक एवन इज अ सिचुएशन वायर एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज नाइदर मेकिंग मनी नॉर लूजिंग मनी. सो दिस मीन्स ब्रेक एवन इज अ सिचुएशन वायर एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज नाइदर gaining money nor losing money, but all the costs have been covered. Break-even analysis. Break-even analysis express the relationship between total cost and total revenues, where the cost. ठीक है ना. So this means the break-even analysis express the relationship between total cost and total revenues. बहुत important question है. The break-even analysis expresses the relationship between total cost and total revenues, where the cost is equal to total revenue. ठीक है ना. Where the cost is equal to total revenue. The point where the cost is equal to sales is called इसका break even point. बहुत important question है. The point where the cost is equal to sales. बहुत important question है. The point where the cost is equal to sales is called break even point. This means the point where the cost is equal to sales is called break even point. Break even analysis determines the break even point. ठीक है ना. So this means break even analysis determines the break even point. Break even point refers to the level of output where equally breaks the cost and revenue. ठीक है ना. सवाल इस तरह बन सकता है. Break even point refers to the level of output where break even point refers to the level of output which equally breaks the cost and revenue. ठीक है ना. So this means break even point refers to the level of output which evenly or equally breaks the cost and revenue. बहुत important question है. Break even point refers to the level of output where break even point refers to the level of output which evenly or equally breaks the cost and revenue. That is break even point is also known as point of no profit or no loss. So this means break even point is also known as point of no profit no loss or critical point. तो आपने याद रखूंगा ये. The break even point is also called as no profit no loss point or critical point, equilibrium point, balancing point. ठीक है ना. So break even point is also called critical point, equilibrium point or balancing point. उसके बाद है मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी। मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी, मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी रिप्रेजेंट द डिफरेंस बिटवीन एक्सपेक्टेड सेल्स एंड ब्रेक इवन सेल्स, ठीक है ना। मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी रिप्रेजेंट्स द डिफरेंस बिटवीन एक्सपेक्टेड सेल्स एंड ब्रेक इवन सेल्स। बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। द मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी रिप्रेजेंट्स द डिफरेंस बिटवीन एक्सपेक्टेड सेल्स एंड ब्रेक इवन सेल्स। हायर द मार्जिन सेफ्टी हायर विल बी द चांस ऑफ अर्निंग प्रॉफिट्स। तो आपने याद रखूंगा व्हाट इज द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन, सवाल बन सकता है व्हाट इज द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी एंड अर्निंग प्रॉफिट्स। इसका सही जवाब है डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप, ठीक है ना। सो दिस मीन व्हाट इज द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी एंड अर्निंग ऑफ प्रॉफिट। इसका सही जवाब है डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप, दैट इज हायर द मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी, हायर द मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी हायर विल बी द चांस ऑफ अर्निंग प्रॉफिट्स एंड वाइस वर्सा। उसके बाद है स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट, स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, ठीक है ना, इंपॉर्टेंट है स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक, स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट, व्हाट इज स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट। आपने पहले याद रखूंगा स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट किसको कहते हैं। इट इज द प्लानड, इट इज द प्लानड पर यूनिट कॉस्ट ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट, ठीक है ना। इट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज प्लानड कॉस्ट। स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट क्या है, इट इज द प्लानड पर यूनिट कॉस्ट ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट, ठीक है ना। सवाल इस बन सकता है द प्लानड पर यूनिट कॉस्ट ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट इज कॉल्ड स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट, ठीक है ना। द प्लानड पर यूनिट कॉस्ट, तो आपने द प्लानड पर यूनिट कॉस्ट, ठीक है ना। द प्लानड पर यूनिट कॉस्ट ऑफ ए प्रोडक्ट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज, सो दिस मीन्स द प्लानड प्रोडक्ट, सॉरी द प्लानड पर यूनिट कॉस्ट, द प्लानड per unit cost of a product is called standard cost, is also called as planned cost. Standard costing क्या होती है? Standard costing is a technique of costing in which standards are set out first. बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग क्या है? स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक क्या है? स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक इज a technique of costing in which standards are set out first and then comparing standards cost of each. तो आपने याद रखूंगा स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक. Standard costing technique is a technique of costing in which standards are set out first and then comparing standard costs of each product or services with its actual cost. ठीक है ना? So in standard costing technique, the standards are set out first and then comparing standard costs of each product or service with its actual cost, then analyzing the variance. Thus also called as variance analysis. Standard costing technique. Standard cost is related to product and its cost only. Note, budget costing says that what will be the cost, while as standard costing says what should be the cost. तो आपने याद रखना the budget costing says what will be the cost, while as standard costing says what should be the cost. उसके बाद है direct costing. The technique of costing in which direct costs are charged to cost of production only. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। The direct costing technique क्या है? The technique in which costing direct costing technique क्या है? The technique of costing in which direct costs are charged to cost of production only. The individual costs are not included as they are charged to profit and loss account. तो आप याद रखूंगा डायरेक्ट कॉस्टिंग में क्या होता है? द टेक्निक ऑफ कॉस्टिंग इन विच डायरेक्ट कॉस्ट्स आर चार्ज्ड टू द, तो आपने याद रखूंगा डायरेक्ट कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक में क्या होता है? द टेक्निक ऑफ कॉस्टिंग इन विच only direct costs are charged to the cost of production, ठीक है ना, cost of production. Thus direct costs are charged only direct costs. तो आपने याद रखूंगा in direct costing the technique of costing in which direct costs are charged to the cost of production only, direct costs only. तो आपने रखा डायरेक्ट कॉस्टिंग टेक्निक क्या है? द टेक्निक in which direct costs are charged to the cost of production only. So this means in direct costing only direct costs are charged to the cost of production. Thus individual costs are not included in direct costing technique as they are charged to profit and loss account. उसके बाद है uniform costing. Uniform is equal to same. It is the costing technique. The uniform costing technique is a costing technique in which same costing principles or practices are used by various business for the purpose of producing cost data in such a manner that they can be easily compared with enter firms as well. उसके बाद है absorption costing method. Absorption costing is equal to absorb. The absorption costing technique is a costing technique in which all the costs incurred throughout the production such as direct cost, indirect cost, fixed cost, variable cost are